If you were to ask me what games I've spent the most time playing, Plants vs. Zombies would be near the top of that list. Now, what is it about this game in particular that keeps me coming back every couple of years? That's the question I'm going to answer in this video. I should also note, I'm playing the PS3 version for the first time, so that should make this revisit a little more interesting. The concept is very simple. You have to defend your yard against an angry horde of zombies. Your means of defense are plants, hence the title, Plants vs. Zombies. The gameplay takes place on a grid. You place your plants on the left side of the yard as from the right side of the yard. You need to keep track of your sun supply because the overwhelming majority of plants need it to grow. Every time you plant one, you'll have to wait a certain amount of time for it to recharge. The zombies will walk up to your plants and devour them whole, so you want to be careful where you set them. I'm surprised how they managed to take a game originally designed for the PC and make it feel better on console. The sun magnetizes to your cursor, you can swap plants with the trigger, and the shovel is given its own button, giving the game a faster flow and making for a comfortable experience. This is a tower defense game, meaning that you're spending a lot of time watching the action. The game runs at a smooth 60 FPS, for the most part. Unfortunately, there is noticeable slowdown when things get overcrowded. The animations feature mesmerizing motions and the sound design is strangely relaxing. And the soundtrack is nothing short of perfection. The tone captures this balance of sounding loony and dire, not to mention how catchy every individual track is. I love how calm the songs start out, but once you reach that checkpoint flag, drums start to kick in and the tempo speeds up. If you're looking for a narrative then, I'm not sorry to say this, PvZ has no story outside of the base conflict. The cutscenes are more focused on making you laugh and building up to the next level. There's only one developed character, and that's Crazy Dave, who shows up every now and then. Not that I'm complaining, the game is loaded with humor, from the funny letters the zombies send you, to Dave's wacky stories, to the music video at the end. Plus, puns are everywhere. Plantern, Scary Potter, Portal Combat, Dead Zeppelin. You can tell that the developers had a great time making this game. Now let's talk about the core experience, Adventure Mode. New plants are unlocked after every normal level and new zombies are introduced every other level. This keeps the game engaging because you always have something new to try while dealing with stronger and faster foes that require a different approach. What's even more impressive is that not a single plant or zombie feel like filler. They each serve some sort of purpose. Plants are well balanced, using high sun cost and slow recharge speeds to make more powerful plants harder to use. The game also does a good job differentiating plants with similar abilities, like the Plantern, which illuminates part of the fog but can't defend itself. The Blower fans all the fog away, but it's only temporary and can be far more expensive depending on how often you use it. There are even special plants that can be purchased from Dave's shop. You place them on the original form of their specific plant and upgrade them, which will sometimes result in a completely different plant. There are many types of zombies to deal with, some of which require specific plants in order to be taken out effectively. However, even with the less ideal zombies, you still have multiple options to take them out, like with the screen door zombies. You can use the foom shrooms to damage them through the door, the catapults to hit them from above, the spike weeds to harm them from below, or the magnet shrooms to get rid of the door completely. This allows for more original setups and less repetition. I just have one question. Why can't the catapults hit balloon zombies? It doesn't make any sense, they're right there. I also feel like Adventure Mode should have been more aggressive with the frequency of zombies. Oftentimes, the tougher zombies attack near the end of the level. I think it would have been better to have them appear earlier in the stage and pop up more often. Some of the zombie lineups could be a bit better too, like adding snorkel zombies to 4-7 or zombonis to 5-7 would make these stages more interesting, but other than that, I enjoy the way zombies are handled throughout the campaign. The environments also change over the course of the adventure. It starts in the front yard with only one row to defend, then the ground slowly unrolls and more rows need to be defended. At night, graves are dug into the ground, not only taking up space, but during the final wave, zombies will rise up and be closer to your defenses. In the backyard, you now have 6 rows to defend and 2 of them are in the pool. You now need to place lily pads in order to plant anything on those rows, and just like the graves during the night stages, drowned zombies will emerge to the pool's surface during the final wave. It gets worse at nighttime. Now your vision is obstructed by fog and it gets denser as the night progresses. On the roof, you're back to 5 rows. However, the roof is at a slant, making straight shooters nearly worthless. Because there's no soil up here, you'll need to set plants in flower pots. Bungee zombies will drop zombies zombies even further through your defenses, taking the inconveniences from the pool rows and expanding them to all rows. The breadth of the plants and zombies combined with the variety of the battlefields makes for a constantly evolving campaign that never gets stale. The final level of each world is an onslaught of every zombie type introduced in that section. Sadly, for the first half of the campaign, they don't put up any challenge. You're given explosives too frequently and the zombies don't get very far, making these stages more of a spectacle than a final test of skill. Thankfully, World 4 turns that around with 0 explosives to rely on and brief seconds of visibility. I love the boss fight with Dr. Zomboss. He's constantly destroying your setup and sending in the most inopportune zombies. I got particularly poor RNG this time around. The game kept giving me plants, but I didn't have any flower pots to put them in. Chaining multiple explosives and wailing on them is super gratifying. Fighting Zomboss is rewarding every single time. Once you've completed the campaign, a slew of extra content is unlocked. We'll start with the mini-games. They're often designed around a central gimmick that puts a twist on the formula. Take Zombotany, for example. In this stage, you fight zombies with plant attributes, forcing you to think cautiously with how you lay out your plants. In Call 'em Like You See 'em, you fight off a massive onslaught, being able to plant a whole column at once. In Zombie Nimble, Zombie Quick, everything is at double speed, which doesn't really change any mechanics, but it's still a lot of fun. Sometimes they completely alter the gameplay, like in Heavy Weapon where it turns into a twin-stick shooter, or in Begooled where you try to match identical plants while fending off an endless horde of zombies. There's a second version where you get matches by rotating the plants. It's honestly one of my lesser favorites. Then there's Zombiquarium, which totally defies the game's logic with the zombies producing sun, and I am perfectly fine with that. I would say that the minigames are consistently more challenging than the main campaign, though sometimes that's due to bad RNG, like in Slot Machine here where I kept getting 0 of a kind because the game decided so. My playthrough of Invisible started a little rough because the game kept giving me lily pads instead of actual firepower. A similar thing happened in Big Trouble Little Zombie. Speaking of which, some of the minigames are just harder versions of levels from Adventure Mode. I'm mixed on this design choice. On the one hand, Walnut Bowling is leagues more difficult than the campaign equivalent, so it isn't really repeated content. On the other hand, the previously mentioned Big Trouble Little Zombie doesn't increase the challenge too much. You also refight Dr. Zomboss. I guess that chooses baloney. Because wow, this fight is much harder than the original, and it drags on way longer too. I wish the fight could have stood out a bit more, but it is a fitting finale to the minigames. Moving on to Vasebreaker, in this game mode you smash vases containing plants or zombies inside. These stages are very short, however they can go sour fast if you're not careful. There are a lot of close calls and scrambling around trying to find a place to put a vanishing plant, leading to me smashing a bunch of vases, resulting in Sonic Panic as there's now a swarm of zombies that I'm not equipped for. It's hard to describe the fast-paced sense of chaotic mystery present here. It's something that you have to play yourself to truly understand. After you complete all the normal Vasebreaker stages, you unlock Endless Mode. It's a nice addition that takes the randomness factor to the next level. It adds occasional sun drops to the mix which can be used on an extensive lineup of cherry bombs. Overall, Vasebreaker offers a unique and memorable experience. Up next is iZombie, a mode where you play as the zombies and swarm a pre-laid out yard. This is another fun twist on the game's formula that cleverly changes the objective while keeping the same type of design. It requires more puzzle solving as you need to pick the right zombies to use on the right rows, and due to the randomly generated layouts, replaying these levels requires the same amount of thought every time. You need to pick your zombies carefully as they're not as strong as you'd expect, and in some situations you will just barely make it. I feel like there should have been a fast forward button, because it can get tedious watching zombies slowly walk across the lawn. And like Vasebreaker, there's an endless mode, and it is way harder than the normal stages. I've never hated butter more in my life. Your sun carries over from round to round, and the amount of sunflowers decrease as the rounds continue. Generally, iZombie is an excellent side mode that executes its great premise well. Survival mode is the gameplay at its rawest form. It's 5 rounds of non-stop action with different zombies to deal with each time. Your setup carries over from round to round, allowing you to create a far more intricate and expensive setup. However, it needs to have flexibility, because you never know what zombies are coming next, so you need to craft your defenses cautiously just in case a problematic zombie shows up. Once you do create that perfect setup, it feels great to sit back and watch it decimate wave after wave of zombies. Unfortunately, the difficulty can be inconsistent. Sometimes the game refuses to spawn tougher enemy types, which can make it a hollow victory. On a much smaller note, it feels uneven that you earn the same amount for completing survival as you do for minigames in iZombie. And don't even get me started on Survival Endless. Take everything tough about survival and then times that by 10. million. The game can barely handle the insanity, as Survival Endless suffers the worst frame rate by far. It's done in the pool level, which makes sense because every zombie type is available, though I would have liked to see endless versions of the other levels. Upgraded plants increase in sun cost every time you use them. It's near essential to use these plants to make it past 10 waves, and the extra sun adds up really fast. I think this is a great way to balance the extra power these plants provide, and I feel like this should have been applied to the other modes and not just Survival Endless. Another exclusive thing found here is the Giga Gargantuar, an even stronger version of the already strongest zombie in the game. Anytime these guys appear, you know it's gonna be a rough match. It would have been cool to see Giga versions of other zombies, but that might make it too hard if it wasn't hard enough already. The difficulty and random nature makes Survival Endless infinitely replayable and my favorite part of the game. When you want to take a break from the action, you can head to the Zen Garden, a serene place where you grow plants and sell them to Crazy Dave. Mechanically, it isn't particularly complicated, but it is very rewarding, and it makes sense to have a garden simulator in a game about planting, especially when the main game is essentially the Michael Bay of gardening. I always look forward to returning here and taking care of my collection. The moving plants can feel a little unwieldy, especially when you're taking them to another garden. The amount of slots you have to scroll through can make it more troublesome than it needs to be. Once your plants have grown to full size, you can spray them with the bug spray or play the phonograph. But what these things do is underwhelming. They cause the plants to radiate coins in a dilatory fashion, which is not worth the amount of money they cost. There's also the Wisdom Tree, who tells you tips and tricks as it grows taller. Most of the advice is hidden codes, nifty strategies, or minor observations. It has a lot of personality for a tree. Roof cleaners will give you a shot of being Pogo Party. Well, guess what? I already beat Pogo Party without them. I don't even need your advice. I'm doing this for the achievement, which is to grow the Wisdom Tree to 100 feet. Getting to that height will cost you $250,000 worth of tree food, and while that might seem like a lot, because it is, it doesn't require a lot of work thanks to the Zen Garden. If there already wasn't enough content, you can replay adventure mode with some differences. Dave will pick out 3 plants for you, levels have been extended, and the zombies are more aggressive, so it does make that improvement over the normal campaign. But considering the fact that you have a better arsenal, the difficulty cancels out. There's also a versus mode, which is a lot of fun and a perfect utilization of the core mechanics. Though I didn't play many difficult matches due to my dad having -0 skills, I also wish that you could have matches on the pool or roof that would add some neat variety. But it's a fast-paced and well-designed multiplayer. Plants vs. Zombies is the type of game that does everything it possibly can with its concept. A simple idea with so much variety and creativity. From adventure mode's solid progression, the mini-games twists on the formula, puzzle mode's unique strategy, and survival's non-stop action. With endless modes that give the game unlimited content, Plants vs. Zombies has earned its spot as one of my favorite games of all time, and won't be leaving anytime soon. This game gets a 357 out of 376. If you want to see future reviews, eat the subscribe button and eat the bell to be notified of brains. This is Nat signing out from the Natwork.